It's one of those technologies that we should all utilize because it helps us discover information. So is it a unique technology to Komodo today? Yes. But does it mean that other people can't develop it? Of course they can develop it, and I would welcome everyone to utilize these new technologies, to be honest. It helps us all, going forward.
So talk a little bit more, and we'll probably have some questions in a second, but talk a little bit more about the big companies that we all hear of. You've got Facebook, for example. Everyone is sort of waiting for Facebook to convert this huge user base that they have into a real business. Is that something that they'll be able to do, and is Web 3.0, is that going to help them do that, and some of the authentication that you're talking about, will that help them actually build a real business too?
I hope it will for them.
For them.
And I hope it will. It's important for new technologies like Facebook or new enablements like Facebook to succeed. We don't want to see failures. It's not in the interest of anyone to see failures. So I really hope they will. So.
And what do you think, I mean, as you look at the next wave of technology, obviously we're getting to the point where security is becoming a much bigger issue. You're talking about much larger sums of money that are stolen and so forth. How long do you think it'll take to get to the point where parents can be incredibly comfortable that their kids aren't going to get rooked or something worse is going to happen to them? How long will it take before the internet becomes as safe as the real world, perhaps, which isn't so safe, but certainly safer in a lot of ways than online?
When are we going to see that? That's going to happen when we have the authentication layer. The biggest problem we have as parents is we cannot differentiate good from bad. That's our problem on internet. For that to happen, we need the authentication layer that helps us identify what is good, what is bad. As soon as the authentication layer is there, then we'll be able to secure our kids. How long? 3 years, 5 years? I hope no longer.
And who else is working on this? I mean,
a lot of companies are working on it. I don't know who is working on it, one by one. I can't give you a list. But I know quite a few different companies who are working on it, and I hope more companies work on it.
And you think the big companies like Microsoft, I mean, I know they are doing some stuff in this area. Are they going to start to really embrace it now?
I really hope so. And, Microsoft is a responsible company, and I hope they're going to be spending, a lot more research and development money in coming up with new technologies. I really hope so.
MySpace, another company that scares the heck out of parents.
Indeed.
And a lot of kids
MySpace, Facebook, and nowadays instant messaging applications as well. If you're using MSN or Google Talk or AIM, you connect to people and you don't know who you're talking to.
And the vision that you're describing, it sounds as though you can have a single technology that can be adopted by all of these different providers. It's not that they have to duplicate it themselves and we have to get a certificate in each place.
Correct. We already have. I mean, the question is, we have passports in physical world. What is the passport equivalent that we can give to people in the digital world? It's called a digital certificate. It's your unique DNA. So what we're going to be doing is having everyone to have a digital certificate. If you have a digital certificate, and if the tool that you're using, whether it's Facebook or instant messenger or email, can utilize that, you've solved the authentication problem for individuals.
Right. Let's take one more question from Boaz.
Alrighty. Well, actually, I have a bit of a mystery I'd like Melih to unravel for me here. We all know that the internet originated from the United States. We know the story about it, and as it grew, especially in the last 10 years, there was talk that because the internet originates from the United States, that there were certain, how should I put it, there were certain issues that other countries had with the fact that everything originated from the United States. Now, there was talk, the European Union a couple of years ago was talking about creating what was called the Web 2. And there was a lot of talk about that with regards to, well, if they're going to create their own, what we call, and perhaps in technical terms, their own internet supergrid that originates in Europe, how would that connect with the originating internet in the United States, or would there be conflicts?
Very good question, actually. I think they're talking about physical layers of connectivity. I think from users' point of view, we would still see internet in Europe or US and other countries as the same. I mean, we have DNS servers. I think we've got 13 main DNS, domain name resolution servers that are all residing in the US, to my knowledge. I might be wrong. For example, so if you type in for any .com names, that query would come to here and gets resolved from here, from the US. So, but country-level specific domain names are trying to address that problem so that they run their own service. For example, China runs their own .cn extension. So countries are solving that using different ways, and I think people are being able nowadays are controlling not necessarily controlling, but able to set up their own networks in their own countries. So the dependency on US as being the hub is disappearing slowly, whereby it's becoming a one big net everywhere.
But it's not. You're not going to get a parallel network where you've got the crappy internet that everybody uses and the really super internet that somebody else has installed.
I personally do not see that. I see one big internet and an authentication layer that differentiates good from that. That's
right.
What I see.
Well, talk a little bit more before we end. Talk a little bit more about really what the web looks like and what it's like using it in 5 years. Because is it going to be a radically different experience for people? Is it going to be pretty much the same except a little bit faster and cooler video and stuff like that?
I hope it will be radically different. For example, there are many things that we do today that we can use the computing power to do. Why do I have to find a product, for example? Why do I have to go to one of the search engines and type the product name and go through 26 million different things and then click on the link and go to that website and check what that website does, and then I don't like it there and I go somewhere else? Why can't computers do it for me? I know what I want. Here's what I want. Go ahead, find it for me.
Find the best one, the cheapest one from a decent store.
It could be the cheapest. It could be the delivery. It could be the return. So why can't we do that? I mean, can't computers do it? Of course they can. We need to bring that technology in. We need to use computers to make our lives even easier. So, and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to bring all that in. I mean, today you see law firms still printing and FedExing documents. What's the point of having all these computing power if you can't send a document using electronic media? Some do, but majority still rely on print and FedEx. Why? We should be able to utilize our computing infrastructure to help us with all that stuff.
Right. I think part of the problem there is just people. We are used to doing it a certain way for 30 years. It takes a long time to switch. It's saved newspapers for a while, I'll tell you that.
Well, that's what, yeah, very much so. But it also some people don't have the ability because digital certificate infrastructure is not fully there yet. So for me to be able to send you something, I need to know your digital certificate, but you don't have a digital certificate. So there is some adoption issues. As the adoption happens, it will happen.